Oh, this is Dean Hess by phone. I'm also up on the video, but I don't see anybody else.
Okay.
We're here.
Well, I'd like to call to order the Ashwaubenon Park Recreation and Forestry Board meeting for February 18th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Tracy Fluke? Here. Mark Gastonia?
Here.
Justin Miner?
Here.
Dean Hess?
Here.
Heidi Murphy?
Here.
Deborah Lundberg? Maybe.
They must still be trying.
Okay. And then Chris Serbal's excused.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
To the flag.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Action on the agenda. Does anybody have any comments concerning the agenda? Hearing nothing, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? I think the ayes have it. Comments from the public? I don't think we have any public here. Any written communications? None. Action on the consent agenda, which consists of the approving the minutes from the January 19th, 2021 meeting. Are there any comments or corrections to those minutes?
Make a motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
Any comments on, further comments? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Action items, number 8A, action on the 2021 ash tree removal bids.
Okay. Tim, our village forester, is going to just talk a little bit about the bids that went out. They were opened last week. And then which ones are being recommended or being brought forward to you for recommendation to the village board.
Thank you. This is a continuation of our discussion from last month regarding the ash removal project. Just a quick recap, we're basically working in the area east of US Highway 41 in management areas 1 through 5, and then Ashwaubenon, Fort Howard, Canterbury, Argonne, and Smith Parks. Specifications were written, those were reviewed at last month's meeting and sent out to 35 contractors in northeastern Wisconsin and eastern half of the state. We did receive a favorable return on those bids. We actually got 7 bids that we received from contractors, and there was 2 other contractors that said they were going to send them in and they didn't. And another contractor that had his days mixed up, so he missed the deadline to submit them. So it was quite favorable. A number of those contractors actually set up time to meet with me to look at the projects and get a firsthand feel for the work to be done. When it was all said and done, if you remember, we had 4 separate projects, A, B, C, and D. I had every intention to award multiple contracts if it was in the best interest of the village to do so. And as it turned out, we had a low bidder on 3 of the 4 projects, and then a separate low bidder on a different project. Given that was a the smallest of the 4 projects. I did discuss with him if it was still able for him to mobilize to the area to do the project, considering it was the smallest of the 4. And after a little consideration, he agreed that, yes, he would be interested in doing that project. When it's said and done, the recommendation that I'll bring forth is the low bidder on all 4 projects, with Trios Tree Service from Menasha being low bid on project A, B, and D. And then Foley's Tree Service from Tomahawk is going to be low bidder on project C. I did check references on all the contractors. Trios has been doing ash removals for the city of Fond du Lac for a number of years with good reports and success. And then Foley, the same thing. They've been working for some municipalities up that direction. And then, after tonight, the bids and recommendation from Park Board will be forwarded to Village Board for their consideration at next week's meeting.
Okay, does anybody have any comments or any further discussion on this?
Tim, maybe you can explain to the board, you and I had talked prior to about the bids. My concern was with Foley's Tree Service and awarding them the bid when it's only like $900 less than Traco and having them do all 4 pieces. Can you explain to me what your reasoning was behind going with Foley's and why you thought that was a good way to go?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
And why that was a good way to go. If you could explain what they're going to come in, how they're going to do it, how much time it will take for them to do it, for them to take that small bid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Foley's is actually coming from Tomahawk, and they have invested a significant amount of,
Tim, could I have you talk closer to the mic? It's hard, it's not picking up, I guess.
they've invested a fair amount of resources into equipment to do bigger jobs, such as this one. The Argonne Park is about 75 trees, and they were able to do that in a single day. So that they'll be here for a day or 2 to do that job, so the mobilization wasn't a concern for them.
And the equipment that they're going to use is pretty unique, you said, for
Yeah.
taking that down?
Yeah, they have a crane that actually has a saw head on it, where they're able to grab and cut a piece with that crane and set it on the ground. It's called a grapple saw. And we actually had a demonstration of one at a conference here in Ashwaubenon 3 or 4 years ago. So they have the equipment to do the job safely and efficiently, and they'll be able to do that job in very short order.
Thank you.
Anybody else, comments, questions?
I'd like to ask Tim if he can just kind of explain the time frame with the 2 contractors of when this is all going to be done, in general.
Sure. The bid will start as whenever Village Board approves it. They'll have basically the rest of the year to do the project. December 15th is the deadline. And a lot of the park sites require frozen or dry ground to get in there with this heavy equipment. So that way, if they don't finish this spring before the frost comes out, they have an opportunity next fall to get into some of the park sites to do that work. And, the day-to-day scheduling is going to be up to the company and the contractor and the areas that they work in. We have a few situations that we need to coordinate on, apartment complexes and coordinating with the tenants to make sure vehicles aren't in the way. And they assured us that won't be a problem either.
Tim, for doing work within the parks, I assume that the village would be given some notification as to the days in which they would be working within the parks, just to make sure, possibly if we plan on having any activities in the park, that just to make sure that there wouldn't be any conflict in terms of safety of the kids and so forth.
Yes, absolutely. It's very likely that the parks will be done before the frost comes out this spring.
Any other questions, comments?
Tim, I just want to check, you did check references on the two bidders that you have selected, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then for Trio's tree service, their bid is less than half of, if you cluster those four bids that are around 200,000 together.
Sure.
So you're comfortable and they're comfortable with being able to do the project at that lower price? They had no concerns with that and they can come in and do it and take care of it the way the bid was spec'd?
Yeah,
You feel comfortable?
especially given that they've been doing similar work for other communities.
Okay.
So obviously they have their price point dialed in and their techniques and methods to do the work efficiently.
Yes, so they feel it can be efficient and get it done in a timely manner at a lesser cost.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Any other comments? Do you want the motion to move this on to the village board? Is that what you're looking for?
Correct.
Yes, please.
Probably a motion to accept Tim's recommendation for the village board to take it on to the next step.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to move forward with the recommendation of Tim to move it forward to the village board.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract as recommended. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Nope. Okay, that's carried.
Thanks, Tim.
Good job on the bids, Tim.
Thank you.
Action item number 8B, report on the 220 community pool and 2021 lake preparation.
Like to call up Melody Escoto. Melody's our aquatics coordinator. She's going to talk a little bit about the Ashwaubenon Community Pool, what was going on in 2020, how we were able to do a few things once COVID hit, and then what we expect for 2021, both the pool and the lake. Mel, take it away.
So Rex asked me to get some things together. We started out 2020 pretty strong. We have some pretty big meets in the beginning of the year at the pool. We were able to have those. The pool did shut down March 17th, obviously due to COVID, and we weren't able to open until July 1st. Some of that was due to Governor Evers' orders of nobody was allowed on school district property. I think that some of us were back in the office before then, but because of that order did still stand with the pool being on school district property, we weren't able to get on there. But once we did, we started back up at the pool July 1st with a lot of modifications and a lot of cleaning and spreading things out to be able to run things as safely as we could. We did start swimming lessons up again and managed to complete 2 sessions this summer. The instructors are currently out of the water and wearing masks. Parents are now in the water with the tiny tots and level 1 and level 2. Level 3, they do not need a parent in the water, but the instructor is still instructing from the deck, 1 child at a time, as safely as they can do that. So that definitely changed things for us because swimming lesson program is a pretty big program for us. But we had to reduce the amount of people we could have in the pool and in those classes. Water exercise started up again with limited numbers. But we kind of opened slowly. We had a really strategic cleaning plan in place. If you know how the pool functioned prior to COVID, we were 5:30 in the morning till 9:45 at night. Bam, 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 bam. 5 minutes in between programs. That's how it was. Well, COVID now created a big problem with that. So we had to spread classes out, putting 15 to 20 minutes between every program to do cleaning in the locker rooms and all the commonly touched areas. And so the staff really did a great job with that, and have kind of, now it's second nature to scrub the toilets literally every hour almost. So they did a really good job. The lifeguards do wear masks and are temp checked every day when they come into work. They don't seem to mind. It's kind of worked out well. They're a good group of kids. So obviously the numbers from 2019 to 2020 is a big decrease, but obviously we were closed for 3 months, and so that played a big part of it. But otherwise, we are currently up and running right now. Boys season started running in November, which girls swim season moved to spring, so they're currently swimming right now. We had our first swim meet in December. Our pool is just built to host amazing meets. We have a lot of space there. We have good deck space and storage space. And so the school district and I worked together and created a plan so that we could start having swim meets safely. So the boys started with those. The club actually just held their first 2-day meet last weekend, and I think it went amazing. They were well prepared, and it was probably one of their best meets that they had just because of how organized and well it went. But it's nice to finally see people getting back in that pool and utilizing it like close to like what we used to do. So.
And that was actually the first US swimming sanctioned meet in the state that allowed spectators, the one that they just had a week ago. All the other meets down in Pleasant Prairie and some of the Recplex and some of the other sites had meets, but the parents had to wait outside in their vehicles. It was just the kids that were able to go in. So this was the first one that they sanctioned in the state to actually have parents being able to watch their kids up in the stands. And I think that goes to say a lot about the plan that Melody and the swim club put together, because that is one of the reasons why they were able to sanction it, is taking a look at it, saw what some of the precautions were, some of the cleaning procedures, how we were going to be spacing people out. And with all that in place, it's almost, I don't want to say we're the guinea pigs for it, but we kind of were. And so I just want to say out loud in front of everyone here, congratulations and thank you to Melody and the swim club for putting together that plan. It's a feather in their cap that they were able to have spectators and be the leader.
Yeah, it went really well. They really put a lot of work into marking every spot where people could be. I mean, the officials even commented, if they are looking to run state, they need to follow your guys' plan, because they just did a really good job. So as of now, some of our classes didn't start back up. Aurora, we partner with them for some classes that are very popular in our community, and unfortunately with Aurora's restrictions, we weren't able to start those back up. Luckily, we've been working with them and seeing how well we're progressing and how safe we're doing things. They've agreed to start classes up again this summer, so that program will be offered back to the community coming in June, which I know a lot of people will be excited about. So that's kind of all I have on the pool, unless you guys have any questions.
Melody, I was wondering about the teachers teaching on the deck. Do you have to limit your numbers of participants then if they're teaching from the deck, and what are the difficulties for them teaching on the deck?
So it's hard for my instructors. They really like to be hands-on with the kids. I have reduced the amount of kids in the class down to 4, which then allows for 4 parents as well. So it's like double the amount of people in the water, but less kids getting the instruction. So the teachers do a really good job. They're essentially teaching the parents how to teach the kids, so they're using a lot of the words and the things that they just normally push their belly up or tip their head back. They're having to vocalize to each parent how to teach their kid how to swim. So it's been slow going. I mean, my classes are still full to the standard that I can have them, but my instructors really want to get back in the water. They just want things, especially for the summer, they really just want things to kind of get back to their hands-on and helping the kids. So otherwise, it hasn't been too bad. I mean, it's hot in the warm water pool with a mask on, and then they're kind of walking from one side to the other side when they have the parents moving, across the pool. So they're definitely getting their workout on, but otherwise, everybody's really kind of embraced it all, so that's good.
Anybody ever have any questions concerning Melody?
All right, so Mel, now, if there's no questions on the pool, then let's go on to the lake. Talk a little bit about Ashwaubenon Lake and what we're planning for this summer to bring some folks back in and let them have some fun in the water there.
So I'm really excited and hopeful for the summer to open the lake. Our game plan is to obviously open this summer with precautions in place. We will be doing kind of the same cleaning regimen and things like that we are doing at the pool, along with having a limited amount of people in the facility at a time. Rex and I have done a lot of math and mapped it all out square footage wise about what can be allowed in the lake based on square footage. We've kind of gone off what the state uses for pool square footage and gone off of that. So that would allow 690 people to come into our facility. That really should be okay on any given day. There are some real hot weekends that we're really going to have to watch that number. We are looking at doing different things as far as hand sanitizing stations in those common areas. Sometimes in the admissions and concessions, the cafe area, that can get kind of crowded. So Rex and I are doing things to make lines that would not, cross. And we're putting up plexiglass for the staff in the cafe and the concessions admissions area. So that will help with contact. The biggest thing that Rex and I are talking about and working through is the platform. So most facilities that have opened and they had maybe a raft or something like that, they just haven't chose to put that in. The platform isn't going anywhere. It's out there. And so, and it is the highlight of the lake. I mean, everybody loves that thing. So we are working out possibly a way to do some sort of bracelet system where kids get an orange bracelet and some get a green bracelet, and orange bracelets get to be out at the platform at this time and green at this time, and trying to kind of work through that. That's kind of our game plan at this point. But I am super lucky, and I have a lot of lifeguards that have already told me that they're coming back. That was going to be my biggest trial this summer, is when you lose the kids, they don't always come back, and lifeguards are hard to come by as it is, but I've got some pretty seasoned veterans coming back. I have 2 supervisors already coming back. So I'm really excited to be able to at least start the season with a good solid staff. Don't get me wrong, I still have to hire lifeguards, but I have some really good, strong veterans that are coming in that will just know the lake and then work with the newbies to adapt to these new changes.
So any questions from the board on Ashwaubenon Lake operation? Again, Mel has put together a good plan. Certainly I'm comfortable with it regarding the cleaning, spacing. A few things to still work out, obviously, of how we're going to do some of the concession line and things like that, but we've already got things ordered to try and mitigate some of the challenges and concerns that the staff may have in terms of the close contact with the number of people that will still be going through. Ashwaubenon Lake is a big lake. Just FYI, when we figured out the number, we had to figure it out a couple of times because it's just like, 690, are you sure? And that, because actually the number is more than that because of the amount of space, but we just with our comfort level, we literally halved the acceptable number as it was to reach that number. So we're less than probably a 25% capacity of the lake, because the lake technically with the square footage of the water can hold thousands of people.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes more of a crowd control on the beach and how far people are separated on the sand, and if everyone has to use the restroom, that type of a thing. So you still have to take those things into consideration with general spacing. So, while 690 seems like a high number, the actual number is actually larger, but we whittled it down to that number for a certain comfort level for getting everybody in there in all particular areas, including concessions and in the bathrooms and everything like that. Couple things I know Mel didn't mention, but over the course of the fall and winter, we did order additional touchless faucets in the bathrooms, so people don't have to touch the handles per se, at least on most of the sinks. And we also we'll have touchless paper towel dispensers, so everything will be censored. So we're trying to, and same in the staff bathroom. So we're trying to eliminate, the touch points, which may be, even though air transmission is the biggest concern, touch points is still a concern with a lot of folk, and so we're trying to put people at ease by adding those amenities into the facility.
Okay.
So with 690 people at a max, what is that be fully staffed with lifeguards? Would you need 9 then still?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And usually the number dwindles as the day goes on, so we'll check our numbers and our lifeguard numbers, staffing levels as the day progresses. But hope people will be excited to be able to come back, and that'll be a safe number for us.
And it sounds like you're going to have like 2 sets of staff, like try not to intermix them, so you're going to have maybe the A staff and the B staff? Kind of.
So the way the schedule currently works is, yes, there's an A, B, C, D staff, and we're kind of all intertwined, so I'm going to switch it to an A, B staff and a C, D staff. So they just, in case there would be an incident where a lifeguard would be sick or somebody was exposed, I would still at least have a full staff to pull from, so that we wouldn't have to close for an extended amount of time or something like that. I also have the whole pool staff as well. So I have 10 lifeguards and swim instructors at the pool that maybe I would be able to work with their schedule to help out, so.
That's a great idea to try and keep the staffs limited with each other, because like you said, if something happens, you have this whole B staff that can come in if A has been exposed.
Right.
So that's a really good idea.
Just wanted to open. I'm just working whatever thing I can work to get the lake open this summer. It was hard for me last summer to not have it open, so I'm excited.
Yeah, you did a good job. I mean, you and Rex have sat down and thought this through, and your report is good, and I think you have a good plan in place. So hopefully it'll go well, and people will come back, I'm sure, and it'll be a good season. So.
We hope that the weather will cooperate now, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always the kicker, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else had comments or questions? Okay, I think this was for information only, so we appreciate that. It's obvious that you're doing a great job with this organization, especially under circumstances that are not normal. So thank you.
Thanks.
Mel put a lot of time into it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want me to stay up here for soccer, or no? You're gonna do that?
I'm sorry, for what?
Soccer?
No, you don't need to. You can do that from the back.
The next item on the agenda is action on a request to remove summer park program from Valley View to Argonne.
I'm going to call David Rohrig up. David, we actually are going to take team on this one, and then David's going to take the next agenda item as well. But what we've got planned is obviously last year, when we had to make decisions on summer programming, no one knew what was going on. It literally changed every day. Information changed every day. State guidelines and mandates changed every day. And a lot of people didn't know what to do, quite honestly, us included. But we got through it. We thought we did a good summer. And regarding the summer park program, typically we have 7 staffed parks, and we knocked it down to 3 staffed parks. We did Fort Howard, Smith, and Sand Acres. Not what we really wanted to do, but we didn't really know how it would go. How many kids would show up, whether we'd be able to do it safely. We wanted to do Fort Howard just because that was a distribution site for the summer lunch program through the school district, so that was a must. And then Smith and Sand Acres Park are probably two of our biggest, if not the biggest, park program in terms of numbers. So those are the ones we decided to try and see how it went. It went well. We still had a good number of kids show up. Parkies went through the wipes, wiping stuff down, wiping games down, wiping balls down, wearing their masks. So I think it was a successful summer in that respect in terms of trying it out or, through the unknown. This summer, we're back at full schedule. We're going to be staffing 7 parks again. And we're doing the same, implementing all of the same procedures we had last summer for this coming summer. That being said, at Valley View School, we have our summer day camp program. Now, our summer day camp program, we just had signups for that last Friday. And David, where are we with the numbers for that right now, roughly?
We're at 45 kids per week. We just had another family stop in this afternoon and pick up a registration packet. But my guess is, as we get closer to summer, hopefully people get comfortable with their kids having been back in school. Hopefully things continue to improve. My guess is that we're going to get up past the 50 number and close to full capacity at 55.
Which is what we've had historically. It's typically sold out, as you guys know. So with 55 kids, they're all masked inside of the building. They are unmasked when they go outside. And part of the edict on this whole thing is the challenge is we want to get them outside even more than ever now. Do as much as we can outside, because who wants to wear a mask inside? It's not nearly as fun when you're with your friends. So we're trying to do a lot of things outside. As such, when you do things outside, you also want to try and spread kids out. And there's different kids who like to do a lot of different things. Valley View is a decent-sized park program. I think there would be some challenges this summer with the day camp using fields and playground area on top of the park program using fields and playground area. Now all of a sudden you've got a lot of kids mixing. If someone does have COVID, you're going back and forth and you don't know who does and who doesn't, and you don't know who your kids have been interacting with, because the park program, it's not necessarily a sign-in sheet. It's a drop-in program. So as such, I'll be honest, we're just trying to eliminate some of the headaches and challenges and try and make the parents feel as safe as possible, as well as keeping the staff as safe as possible and the kids as safe as possible, both the drop-in kids and the day camp kids. And by doing that, we're saying let's not have the park program at Valley View, or that's what I'm asking you, because typically when we move or change or eliminate a park program, it goes to the board here because it's a big deal. It's a community program that a lot of parents are appreciative of. It's one of the cornerstones of the Park and Recreation Department. Always has been, the summer park program. But I think this year it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge if we keep it at Valley View. So what I'd like to do is take the Valley View Park program and move that over to Argonne Park. There would still be 2 parks in that whole quadrant. You'd have Canterbury, which is a nice, has good numbers, and Argonne. And Argonne just got the brand new playground equipment. It would just be a matter of bringing the park shed from Valley View over to Argonne. Not that big a deal. We'd put it on one of the trailers. And for at least this summer, we'd run it at Argonne and kind of do it on a year-by-year basis in terms of how this COVID is all going to play out, basically. I think by doing that, by keeping 2 programs, you're still able to separate the kids. They've got a choice of which one to go to that are still within pretty close biking distance of each park. So it's not like it's a huge walk or a huge ride on their bike. They wouldn't be crossing any extremely busy roads or anything like that to get to Argonne. So that's what I'm asking the okay or your thoughts on switching that for the 2021 summer season.
Quick question on the in the packet, it says the last Argonne had a last park operation in 2015. Why did that stop after 2015?
It had to do with numbers. The numbers weren't great. And again, we had park programs operating at Valley View, at Canterbury, and at Argonne. So we had 3 operating at the time. And I think each park was kind of poaching kids from the other park. So we thought it would be best to downsize in that particular general neighborhood from 3 parks to 2, which we would still be at. It would just be at Argonne. Valley View and Canterbury had the larger numbers than Argonne at the time. But quite honestly, I think the Argonne numbers would still be pretty good this year, only because there's still 2 people or 2 parks in that area. Plus with the new playground equipment, that's going to lend a lot of interest, I guess, with the kids, with that equipment to play on, and I'm sure the parkies will come up with different games and stuff with the new equipment that we have there.
Yeah, I think
I agree. I think that equipment is awfully appealing.
I think a lot of the kids in the area will be excited to have park program back open in that area. Last year, the kids that wanted to go to park program, a lot of them had to take their bikes all the way down to Smith Park. So I think the demand's going to be there for the two parks are in that area.
All right, so you just need a move to approve the move to Argonne Park then?
Correct.
I'll make that motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
The moved and seconded to move the Valley View park program to Argonne Park. Is there any further discussion?
That'll be approved at village board, correct?
Fern?
I don't
Or
know.
not? No?
I don't know. Good question.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
If it would go, does it have to go to?
I don't think it necessarily needs to, because the budget number stays the same. It's just a location, and that's more of a policy
Yeah, I
a
wouldn't.
little bit. So I think it's appropriate here. I mean, we can bring it to village board, but I don't think it needs to go to village board.
Okay.
Wondered.
All right, then we're all set, right? Well, one thing I would, if my memory serves me right.
Did we do a
We
vote on
didn't
it?
vote,
I'm sorry.
If my memory serves me right, when it was decided not to do the Argonne Park, one of the concerns was the added traffic that they thought the development on Lombardi access would create on Argonne might be of concern. It might be worthwhile to mention to the Public Safety Department that the program is going to be starting up in Argonne Park, and maybe they can do an extra patrol once in a while to watch out for traffic, because there was concern about speeding traffic down that road.
Correct. That was kind of an unknown when a lot of the stuff was going in. And the other good thing too, to some extent anyway, depending on what direction you're coming from, is we do have the Argonne Trail coming from the west side of Highway 41 going underneath.
Yeah.
And then with the sidewalk that comes from Cabela's towards Argonne, at least when people cross the street, they're not in the road, they can jump on the trail or the sidewalk right away. So, but yes, we will make sure public safety is aware of that.
Another good thing about Argonne, different than the other parks, is there's a great wooded area right next door to that park that the kids can explore in, that the parkies can use for nature programs. Get Tim out there to talk about tree identification. I mean, there's a lot of extra programming you could do just because of that site, so it's kind of nice to have a different site for the kids to go to.
All right.
Did you want that motion to, or don't you think you need it?
I would like an official motion, yes.
Okay, I guess we have it, and we just take a vote on it. Those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Not hearing any, okay.
Thank you.
Item 8D, report on planned 2021 programming highlights.
I will let David take this one and let you guys know a little bit about what we've got planned program-wise for this coming summer.
All right. This is kind of the time of the year where we really get a lot of the programming in place for spring, summer. We're getting close to finishing our brochure. It'll actually be mailed out next month. So it's getting to be crunch time. But we're excited for the spring, summer season. Obviously, winter time has been tough. You know, we were kind of limited to class sizes being indoors. We got a little bit more leeway going back outside. We can do some events, you know, some more of our youth programming where kids can easily spread out. So definitely an advantage during the warmer months for us. A lot of these programs we ran last summer. I think they were very successful. A lot of people, you know, came up and thanked us, I think, just for running things. You know, some places, you know, still aren't running programs. So I feel like our residents were very thankful that we were doing the work to get programs up and running. So they were able to come out of their house. And then it kind of becomes a choice thing for the people. If they're comfortable participating, we're going to have programs there for them. We're going to make sure that we run them as safely as possible and that they're comfortable coming. And then if they're not comfortable, you know, that's their own choice to, you know, stay home. They just got to decide what's best for them and their family. But as far as the things that we're really looking forward to, our co-sponsored organizations, AYB and AGSA last year ran their seasons. They both put together very good plans for keeping the kids safe. Both had very successful seasons. And I know they've been working to improve on those plans for 2021.
Well, I've already met with both AYB and AGSA, and their plans are going to be very similar. I think AGSA and AYB will be trying to bring back their full concession operations this year. That's going to be the biggest change. Not just having prepackaged food. They'll have some prepackaged food, obviously, but I think they're going to be back to at least AGSA will be back to doing some cooking. And the biggest thing that I talked with them about is just the safety factor, both in reality and both visually. You know, if the staff are wearing masks, you know, the volunteers behind the counter, if the person grilling the food behind the grill is wearing a mask, you're going to feel more comfortable purchasing that food because you see that safety precautions are being taken. No matter what your thoughts are, whether you think you need to wear a mask or not need to wear a mask, you feel more comfortable about it, you know, when you see people wearing it. So we talked about that. They felt that would be certainly doable. So, you know, we're moving ahead with both of those seasons. Also talked with Melody. For those of you who don't know, Melody, on her free time, she is runs the Ashwaubenon Youth Soccer Program. Her daughter's in the soccer program, and her son. Well, this year will be his first. There you go. So as if Mel isn't busy enough, she's taken on that role as well. And so Melody is just like the pool plan. She's put together a whole back to soccer plan because soccer did not play last year. And so I'm sure kids are chomping at the bit to get back onto the fields. And I don't have it with me, but it's you know it's disinfecting and spacing kids out on the benches during timeouts and changing. Instead of the handshakes at the end of the game, it's the wave and, you know, thank you for playing against each other type of a thing. Very similar to what AYB and AGSA are doing. So we've got the comfort level that the plans are in place, and then each organization obviously will be passing that information on to their board members and so on and so forth down the line to the parents and the grandparents and so on and so forth. So moving forward with that. So that's a little bit of what's happening, just FYI, with the co-sponsored organizations this year. I told them this is, again, COVID is still out there. A lot of people are not going to be vaccinated. You know, who knows when that's going to happen and if people even choose to get vaccinated. So precautions still need to be taken. Certainly this year, you know, and every year I think it's going to be a little bit different, quite honestly. So the other thing that I want to talk about real quick before I pass it on to David is the food truck rallies. We've got 5 dates we're doing the food truck rallies on. Actually, tomorrow's the deadline for the last year's vendors to let me know if they are going to want to return and what dates they'd like to do it at or on.
Thank you.
And then we're booking some of the bands for the food truck rally as well, and just getting a lot of things in place right now. And then probably within the next 2 weeks, we'll have different food trucks assigned to each one of the events. We'll have between 6 and 8 food trucks at each event. We like to try and mix them up a little bit, so it's not and they're all great food trucks, don't get me wrong, but we like to mix it up because variety is the spice of life, right? So just so that there's always someone a little bit different at each food truck rally. That's coming along well. I'm pleased to say that we are set for our summer concert series on Wednesdays. We'll have 7 summer concerts. We're looking forward to that. We've booked the bands. I don't know, do you have any schedules with you, David?
I did pass out the schedules to everybody that's here.
Okay, and for those of you that are listening virtually, for those park board members, we will, I don't know, Terry or I will email that to you tomorrow, the schedule for the upcoming summer. We still have 1 or 2 bands to book for the food truck rallies, but the Wednesday lunchtime schedule is complete. So we're happy about that, and that we've got sponsors. Sponsors are willing to put forth dollars to pay for the bands, and should be a good summer. Knock on wood, weather permitting, like anything else. We've been fortunate with the weather, and hopefully that will continue.
I'd like to add for the food truck rallies, we're actually doing a 5th food truck rally this year. They've been very popular the last few years, so continuing to grow that. We're actually going to have food truck rallies May, June, July, August, and September this year. And then Ashwaubenon, I feel like that's a great park to have that. There's a lot of open space out there.
It's made for special events.
Yep, so we're able to really spread out picnic tables, and then when we're working in the beverage tent area, you know, we've got our masks on, we've got hand sanitizer there. We have hand sanitizer stations kind of spread out throughout the event. And then as we see people getting up from picnic tables, we're trying to get over there as quickly as we can and to spray down the tables and make sure they're disinfected. So I felt like last year people really looked forward to coming to those events. So hopefully this year, you know, we can continue to have that success and keep building on it. Like I said, we'll do 5 of those this year. And then, as I previously mentioned, summer day camp, obviously that's a huge program for us. In the past, we've, you know, sold out right away the first day. We knew that wouldn't be the case this year. Last year, we sold out within a couple hours, and then COVID hit. So we went from having 55 campers down to just over 30 on average per week. So we were happy to see that, you know, we're already at, you know, 45-ish per week signed up for this year. So they're slowly, you know, starting to come back. And like I said, hopefully before summer starts, we're close to capacity for that. We have a lot of the same staff that will be back from last year. So they know exactly how we ran camp when we knew a lot less about COVID. You know, they know how to enforce kids wearing masks when they're inside, when they're on the bus, making sure that we're taking, you know, scheduled time out of the day to hand sanitize, and just kind of the way we rotate through different toys and items that the children play with. Once it's used, we kind of set it off to the side and carry our day camp coordinator's office. so that it's not getting used again until it's actually disinfected. And then we've been really limiting the parents coming into the school. Staff is actually meeting them outside, talking to them at their car, doing a temperature check for the kid. Staff is also getting temperature check, but once a kid is clear to go in, then they'll actually send them into camp for the day. So we got a number of different policies in place, having already gone through it last year. So we're just looking to improve it this year, now that we know a little bit more. And I know a lot of families really kind of depend on that program. Parents are working from home, but you can't really do that much work sometimes when your kids are bugging you all day. So they're excited to see us have registration, and like I said, we're pretty happy with our turnout that we've already had for that. Neighborhood special events, that's another program that we really look forward to during the summer. We have 4 of these basically movies in the park, where we show a movie on our large screen that we have outside. The parks that we show the movies at are Fort Howard, Smith, Waterford Park, and Sand Acres. And then we do offer like a free hot dog, bag of chips, and a drink at those events. But everybody that's staff working by the food they're masked up, they're wearing gloves, hand sanitizer there. So we're doing our due diligence there to make sure that we're keeping everybody safe, and then making sure just that perception of doing what we have to do as well.
And I know we've got at least one new member on our park board here. So just as a little bit of information. So the neighborhood special events kind of morphed from the movie nights into more of a bigger event. So like David said, we typically do a lunch. We typically have the parkies there, and they do some parky games, some large group games with the kids to keep them busy until dusk when the movie starts. And kind of the thought with that, the movies were working well. We thought the opportunity was there to make each one of those events a little bit bigger and better. Kind of taking from some of the programs that the city of Green Bay has for their neighborhood associations. Really, the purpose of the neighborhood special events is to bring the neighborhood together, where parents can walk over or bike over with their kids, and they have a lot of different activities and events going on. And it's not only for the kids, it's for the parents as well, because you see a lot of parents don't get to talk to their neighbors very much because all their kids are involved in this and that, and so on and so forth. So it's a nice neighborhood social outing get-together, not only for the kids, but for the parents as well, and families to get together as a group. And so that's worked out well the last couple of years since we've kind of upgraded those. I don't want to say upgraded because the movie nights worked out well, but we made them a little bit bigger, and we thought that we think they've been going well in that respect. So I know Heidi, you're new to that, so you may not know what the background is on that a little bit. So
We frequent movie in the park, so
good.
My kiddos and I are no stranger to them.
Awesome.
One thing that we used to have with that event is we used to have a bounce house. We got rid of those last year, and we're not planning on having those again this year just because we feel like that would be a disaster.
A lot of hands and body parts touching it. Who knows?
Spit flying everywhere in those things. So.
If it weren't for COVID, we'd obviously still have it because it's one of the most popular things there. But the cleaning and disinfecting of it, it wouldn't have worked in today's situation. So we just kind of pushed that to the side and are doing other fun things as well.
Hopefully one day we can have those back, because I feel like whenever families are driving by and they see a bounce house like that, they're forcing their parents to stop because they know something's going on. So that's what I guess have for 2021 for what we have planned for some of our bigger events, and activity.
Sorry. Do you guys, does National Night Out fall in that special event category, or does the Park and Rec not do anything with that?
So National Night Out typically is run by public safety, but the last, I want to say maybe the last 6 or 7 years, we've coupled the National Night Out with, it typically falls on the same night as the Sand Acres Parks neighborhood special event. So we actually pair that together. And I want to say that's usually on a Monday, isn't it?
Tuesday. First Tuesday in August.
Yeah, so it's on a different day typically than the other events, but we do it so that we can partner together and not only have the fire truck there and some, some other fun things happening that public safety offers, but then we'll have the movie night and everything. So it just makes it a bigger event. So yes, we do partner on that particular night with our neighborhood special event. That's our get-together night on that time.
Okay. I have some ties to public safety, so I was just curious about that.
Yep, absolutely. It's worked out well. The kids get soaked under the fire truck with the spray and then especially if it's a hot night, then they dry off, run around, play some games, and watch the movie. It works out really well.
I'd like to comment on 2 programs you'd held during the winter. One was finding Santa's helpers in the various parks.
Yeah.
And the other was the Snowman Contest. Those are 2 programs that were able to be held with the kids outside. And I don't know if I think those are new this year, those programs, but I don't know who came up with the idea, but those were really some good thoughts.
I suppose I'll give Melody some credit.
The Snowman one is still going on. In fact, I will probably be extending that just because we have it. First we had no snow, and then we had like one good night of snow to make snowmen before it like froze solid in 10 below weather. So, obviously you need packy snow to make snowmen. So we're hoping the weather changes and we can get some more submissions for that. This is our second year of doing that. In fact, the cover of our brochure this year shows one of the winners of last year's contest on our front cover. That's where that came from. The Great Elf Hunt,
Great Elf Hunt, yeah.
Mel, why don't you just quick give a rundown on the Great Elf Hunt? It was an awesome program.
Yeah, that actually turned out really good this year. It was kind of, I guess, my little step out of aquatics. Rex is kind of helping me venture out here with some of my wild ideas. And it kind of grew from the whole Elf on the Shelf idea and actually a silly little game that my mom plays with my kids where each holiday seasonal thing, she'll hide stuffed animals at her house before my kids get there. And then the kids run in and they just want to find them. So it was kind of born from both of those things. And I kind of wanted to try and figure out some sort of COVID-related event that would keep people separated and with their own family groups and then get them out in the park in the wintertime. And so I was very lucky that we had great weather, number one, because we didn't have snow, because honestly, my daughter and I went out at night on Sunday nights to, I'm happy I wasn't trekking through 6 feet of snow trying to, get these elves where they needed to be. But it turned out great, and we had an awesome response from Ashwaubenon for it, and the kids really liked it. We switched it up. It's like I said, it just made it up in my head. So we originally started with just every Monday Santa would give his list to me of the missing elves, and then we would put it out. I didn't know that it was going to go so fast. I was only planning to do it once a week at first, but then within an hour and a half, I think the first time, the elves were found. And so it's not very fun of a game when it's only an hour and a half long.
And they're not typically like out in the open. Melody hides them.
Yeah. Oh, they were hidden hard. But when the people would come to bring the elf back to me, they would say, there were 6 other families in the park looking, and I already went to Canterbury, and now I'm at Valley View, you know, so they were really hopping around the community, which is what I wanted. I wanted them to, I used every park in Ashwaubenon, so maybe not everyone's familiar with Mike Van, or, you know, I wanted to experience every park, so we spread it out like that, and then I ended up doing it twice a week to just kind of keep the elf spirit alive here. And it turned out great. We switched up the times too, because not everybody's home during the day. So we did a nighttime hunt with flashlights, because flashlights are always cool to go outside with. So it was just kind of went as we, you know, created it as I went, and it turned out really well. So I'm hoping to keep going with it in the coming years. But yeah, that was a fluke of just a really fun program. So Snowman Contest is still going on. It's still going well. I probably have about 8 to 10 submissions, but like Rick said, we've kind of had a funny snow season here. So we might have to extend it, or we'll go with what we got. So yeah, those are.
Maybe you can hide the Easter bunny or something.
Well, we talked about that, or doing a leprechaun, but I also don't want to like take the novelty away from that. I am looking at doing another program. It's kind of in the works right now. It's called Story Walk. I've kind of taken an idea out of a library off the East Coast, and they pick a book from the library, a children's book, and they print out each page very large, and you put it along a trail somewhere in a park, and so it's, you know, the kids can read the story as they go through the park, and then you change the story based on the season. Maybe you do something on hibernation, or something on the leaves falling, or Rex and I were talking about at Sherwood Forest, maybe doing the 3 Billy Goats Gruff, because there's a bridge there. And so that's the next thing I'm kind of venturing out on, although I want to do it for spring, and as you know, that's a very busy time for aquatics, but I'm working on it. So just trying to venture out a little bit.
Okay, that sounds good. Next item is discussion of the Parks Efforts and Department report. So I don't know if you want to go through that, or.
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry, can I ask one quick question about the report?
Yep.
You talked about the co-sponsored organizations. The one you did not mention is Special Children's. Is that going to go, or where's that one at? That's usually a summer program, correct?
So we've had a special children's program meeting about a week and a half ago, and they took a vote. The board did. Last year they voted not to do it just because of all the uncertainty. Yes. This year they voted to try it. Okay. As you know, I think the challenge with some of the kids may or may not be wearing of the mask, because a lot of them are with their sensory. Some of them have sensory concerns. They don't like to be touched. They don't like to have things on their face. And so, you know, there's a few things to work out still. But in some form or fashion, the school is going to be open. They are planning to do summer school at Parkview this year. So with that, we got working with the school district, Tammy Nicholson, we're going to try the special children's program out. We've got letters out right now to the staff from 2 years ago to see if we can reel any of those back in. And then, you know, they're working internally, the parent board, with any potential participants of what could be allowable, what not, and how we're going to work through some of that stuff. So Tracy, bottom line is we're planning on trying it. Not sure if it's going to work or not, but they're going to give it a go and see what happens.
Good, thank you.
Yep. All right, oh, sorry. Department reports. So a couple things to talk about. West Main Avenue Trail. Work on the utility lines. This is the extension of the West Main Avenue Trail from Sand Acres Drive eastward to Ridge Road, which would be in front of Monroe Truck. Short stretch, but there's a ton of utility lines buried there. So what the utility companies are doing, they started this past week on lowering all the utility lines. You'll see a lot of work there happening right now. And they're working through, in fact, I just got an email on it a little bit earlier today about a lot of different punch list things that they're working on right now, and permits that need to be garnered and things like that. But that is progressing, and then we're going to be getting some appraisals and then meeting with the 3 property owners that the trail affects. and talking with them about the trail and different right-of-way additions. Working with Stantec right now, trying to iron out a service agreement for work on Sherwood Forest Park, because most of you know, we want to put another trail in Sherwood Forest. Basically, it would be on the north side of the pond, going all the way down to the west on the north side of the channel, kind of hooking up where the bridges cross the channel way back in the interior. So we're working on that on our service agreement. Once we get that ironed out, we will probably have the wetland delineation done. I'm guessing in May is where I'm guessing. And depending upon how that turns out, that's going to let us decide whether or not it's going to be a crusher dust trail or whether it's going to be boardwalk. It depends on how much wetland it actually goes over. If it's crusher dust trail, our own crews may be able to do a good portion of that work, the clearing and grubbing on our own. If it's a boardwalk trail, obviously that will increase the cost because then you have to buy the boardwalk, and they have different platforms that literally sit right on the ground, so you're not disturbing the soil or anything like that, and that's where you build your footing, you put your footings down and put your boardwalk in on that way. So again, we're not real sure how that's going to turn out until the wetland delineation is done, but we're working on that. Regarding recreation, that time of the year, we've got staff letters out. Last year's summer employees, waiting to see what happens there. We have our dance and pom recital coming up on March 5th. That's in about, I don't know, 3 weeks at the Ashwaubenon Performing Arts Center. It'd be nice to get some people in there. I know Let Me Be Frank has had a few shows in our pack, but there's not been a lot of activity there. So that'll be fun to get some folks back in the Performing Arts Center for the big recital on March 5th. As David talked about before, day camp registration has happened. Softball registration starts next week. And we've started to take registrations and signups for the Ashwaubenon Village-wide rummage sale, which will be coming up in April.
What date is that in April? Do you have it set yet?
I see a few people have left here.
If you don't have it off the top of your
Yeah,
head.
no, I have it. Oh, hold on a sec here. April 23rd and 24th. 23rd and 24th, that's a Friday, Saturday. All right, learn to swim, 63 kids. That's where we are right now. Normally we've had about 150. It is what it is. You know, at least we've got 63 kids in the program, and some of the community's kids are going to be more water safe than others, hopefully. Hopefully we'll get the other ones caught up when this summer. Hopefully we'll have some additional people signing up for lessons. High school boys hosted the WIA Division II sectional swim meet. Just heard that we are probably going to be hosting the girls meet coming up at the end of the girls swim season as well. That's been switched from a different school over to Ashwaubenon. So very excited about that. It's always great notoriety for the village, a lot of people coming into the village, as well as kudos for the pool and the staff, that the WIA feels that comfort level of moving things over to our facility. Tim talked about the tree stuff, doing a lot of pruning, did a lot of ash takedown already in Ashwaubenon, so they're still working on that as time allows, if our crews aren't plowing the roads. Park Board member Dean Hess did mention at the last Park Board meeting regarding deer management. I just want to give a real quick update as part of the benefits report here regarding where we are with deer. So if you remember back in 2011, we did an aerial survey. We combined with Alloway and De Pere to do a deer aerial survey for numbers, and the numbers are fairly high. Because of that higher number, the village board changed some ordinances to make bow hunting and crossbow hunting in the village easier to do. It made it less stringent than what the state code was. Instead of having like 100 yards, they went down to 50 yards. It worked out well. There's a fair amount of deer culled. That first year, there was a decent amount the second year, and then things have kind of tailed off for whatever reason. I think there's still hunting going on in the village of deer. Remember, any private homeowner can allow someone on their property to hunt deer on private property, whether it be in their backyard or you know, in that general area, as long as you're 50 yards away from an occupiable dwelling. Okay? And then with the distance, you just basically have to get the permission of the neighbors on each side of you and behind you, depending upon what that distance is. And you're good to go. You have to shoot from a elevated height, so you're shooting downward. So in case the arrow misses, it goes into the ground. And that's held true, and I don't think anyone's had an issue with that since 2011. But in terms of numbers, quite honestly, maybe we get a couple phone calls a season now. The urban deer hunt season just ended on January 31st. And while someone may have talked to Sue, usually Sue lets me know if she got phone calls or someone has called in to say they got a deer. I didn't hear anything this year, so not real sure on that, but I need to say, because I know there were some questions about it, we cannot require people to call anything into the village. If someone gets a deer, they have to notify the DNR, because it's their deer tag. You still have to tag the deer. The DNR keeps track of how many deer are taken in a county. They do not break it down by municipality. They will not break it down by municipality. And because of how the law works, we cannot require anyone to call anything into us. So really, it's kind of, you know, more of a feel or up in the air of whether or not from season to season we've got a potential deer issue with whether they're growing in numbers or whether they're staying where they're at. I know, you know, there's always been deer in different parts of the village. Even after the culling, there's always deer, it's just there were less of them. And so, you know, the question is, where are we at right now? Unless residents let us know that there are concerns or issues, you know, we're going to hold pat with where we're at. You know, once we start hearing or receiving comments or feedback from the public saying that, you know, if they're being overrun by deer, because I remember back in 2011, you'd see deer literally on, if you drove around the village, it was not hard to find a deer. I mean, you know, where I live, they were literally crossing our street every single night, and it wasn't 2 or 3, it was 6, 7, 8 of them at a clip. Now when I see them personally, smaller numbers, there might be 2 or 3 at a time. I know there's probably larger groups in different areas. But I guess I would just say if there are concerns, we will still take those concerns and then compile them. We do have a deer management committee that has not met in probably about 4 or 5 years. There hasn't been the need for it to met. They also would deal with any turkey issues. So if you go on to the village website under Park and Recreation, and then there's a tab for deer management. And so on that tab, it talks a little bit about what you can do to try and dissuade deer or turkeys from hanging out in your yard. Obviously, deer like cedars and certain types of food, you know, so it talks about maybe some more deer-resistant plants that might be better than others, that they might leave alone more. But if there are concerns, people can always call the Park and Rec office. We would compile them. If we see the number of concerns growing, then potentially we would get the deer management committee back together again and try and figure out, what we need to present to the village board. So, I know Mr. Hess, I know I talked with Dean quite a bit. Dean, do you have anything you want to add on that or interject here?
No, I just had a question because I know we were getting numbers previously as to what the deer kill was in the village, and then that just tapered off. So, I was speaking, when I talked to you, I guess I was speaking as a board member, but also as a resident, because I've seen, at least in our area, Waterford Park subdivision, an uptick in the numbers the last several years. I had them actually bedding down in our backyard. So, I just brought it up as a concern.
Okay. All right, does anyone have any questions on anything in the benefits report or any questions on programming or activities that the department is doing?
Well, how about items for next meeting's agenda? Anybody have anything they want to put on the agenda at this time? Well, hearing nothing. Or Mary, do you have something?
No, the only thing I wanted to say, Mark, is, this has been a challenging year for everybody, and I'm just really thankful for the park board for allowing some of the programming that you've allowed to happen for our children, for our residents, families. And I want to thank Rex and his staff. They did just an outstanding job to provide something for people to do, and heard a lot of good stuff about it. And I just wanted to thank Park Board for that.
Thanks, Mary.
Good,
So
thank you.
that's all.
Okay. Anything else by anybody? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn
So moved.
in a second. Sure.
Second.
I will do that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Oh, we are adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
This conference